Hey guys, welcome to the Pit Podcast. Thank you for joining us here. I'm with Aiden as usual. Say hello, Aiden.
Oh,
And we know it's been a while.
it
Aiden, care to
has it
explain?
has been a while. How
Yeah,
long has it been? 2 weeks?
I think
Almost?
almost three.
Almost three. I mean, this is the third week, right? Or
Maybe.
yeah, it's the third week since the last time we recorded. So the reason
Yeah,
why we've been gone, right, is I have been sick, not with COVID, but
unbelievable,
yeah, but
unacceptable.
with the stomach flu, and that somehow led to my throat being destroyed for a solid 2 weeks. So
Mm,
that was pleasant. That was a pleasant experience, I guess.
yeah. Flu sucks harder than most illnesses. I swear.
Yeah, I couldn't.
There's nothing worse than throwing up.
Yeah, and I couldn't get my what's it called? My flu shot until recently either. So
Oh,
it is
really?
what it is. Yeah, I got it like what last week, 2 weeks ago.
Do you think do you think you contracted the flu that the shot is trying to prevent?
No, 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 definitely not. Cause I was sick before I got the shot. So mm,
Yeah, flu is one of my least favorite illnesses. It comes in so many shapes and forms, and it sucks so bad every single time.
influenza. I don't know. I
Yeah.
feel like I don't know. I definitely hate the stomach flu. Like it's it makes me feel so bad. Like
If you
physically, and then you're like your mental is all like boom.
mental too,
Yeah.
what do you mean?
Like when you're sick, right? Your brain kind of just like goes on full survival mode.
It shorts out.
Yeah, and
Like
so like if you want to get work done, you literally can't, cause your brain just can't like comprehend anything.
the thing is too, your brain like makes you throw up and cough and all of that.
Like all of these things that make you feel bad, like throwing up and coughing and stuff, they're all like your body responses to the illness.
Well, to be fair, if it didn't do that,
Yeah,
you'd probably die.
yeah.
So even coughing, like I had a slight like you know how when certain parts of your body get sick instead of your entire body?
Oh,
That kind of just happened with my throat,
yeah.
but it went away pretty quick. It wasn't a big deal.
Dude,
Not as much as stomach flu.
my cough didn't go away until pretty recently,
How recently do you think?
like 2 days ago, maybe.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Dude, I didn't even ask you. Like, I would pretty much daily ask you how you felt. I didn't even ask you yesterday. How did you feel yesterday?
Yesterday I felt completely fine.
Really?
Like I was fine enough to like go to school and stuff, so I feel like
Okay.
I was pretty good. Yeah.
And your workload's pretty intensive, so it's a good thing that what's it called? It's a good thing that you can actually like compete with it now.
Hmm. There was quite a bit of catch up to do though, but it is what it is.
Dude,
Hmm.
every time you talk about like your geography homework and a bunch of those classes,
Hmm.
your geography class is so cool to me. I
It
kind of
is.
want to take geography now.
The thing is, because it's an IB course, we're preparing for like the IB exams at the end of grade 12, right?
Hmm.
So I'm not sure what kind of things you guys would learn in geography. That's not IB, so it might not be similar. But
I
if you
know,
want to
but
take it, like by all means, go ahead.
it's pretty cool. I mean, it's an overview. It sounds pretty cool to me, you know?
Yeah.
Overall, though, kind of torn between history and geography. I don't know if I should take both next year, but I really like history too,
I mean,
obviously.
you don't. I mean, for applying for universities in Canada, you don't need like a chemistry 12. I don't think.
Really?
Yeah, the application requirements are just the grade 11 courses.
Why? Why not 12? That
Mm.
seems suspicious to me. Not suspicious, but that's odd.
I think it's because when you're in grade 11, right? When
Hmm.
you're in grade 11, like you apply for universities like in the middle of grade 12, right? And they can't see how well you did in the course because you apply
Huh.
in the middle of grade 12. And let's say you have physics in the second semester, right?
Okay.
And by that point, when you're done with physics, you already would have gotten a reply from the university you applied to.
What if they created grade 13? Huh?
Yeah, no
No.
way. No shot.
No, but that makes sense. Yeah, that makes sense. Okay.
Mm,
That's why I took physics and chem this year. I'm trying to take all the classes that'll make my what's it called? That'll make my prospects very broad. I want to have very broad prospects so I can choose anything I want, right?
mm,
That's why I took chemistry and physics. Plus chemistry, I kind of find it interesting how the elements work with each other.
mm.
Physics isn't bad, but I
You
don't
say
know, it just
you
feels like another version of math.
you say that, and then when you do physics, you're gonna be pretty
Hmm.
upset. You're gonna be pretty stressed because it's it's not just math because it's it's like applied math where you have to implement logic
Word
into it as well.
problems.
You have to apply logic to it, and the thing is, most of the questions on the physics test, they're all word problems.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
and I know how much you love word problems.
oh, I
Yeah.
it's because I feel like I have the least practice when it comes to word problems in regards to any other genre, if you want to call them, of math.
Mm.
Out of everything, I've probably had the even graphs. I've probably had more practice with graphs than word problems. It just feels like they don't emphasize on word problems as much in math, and that makes them
Dude,
not hard but twisted.
I hate personally. I love word problems and I hate graphing.
Really.
Yeah, I feel like graphing is an important skill and all, right?
Hmm.
But I don't know.
Graphing is probably more complicated than word
it
problems.
is more complicated, and the thing with graphing is that like there's only one way to graph this certain equation, and if you
Hmm.
mess up this graph, you're gonna get the question wrong. While on a word problem, right? There's many different approaches you could take, right,
That's the
to
thing I
solving.
kind of agree with. Yeah.
Yeah, and even in like let's say you have a word problem
Hmm.
and it has many different approaches, and you get a graphing problem, right? For the word problem, since there's so many different ways, if you show you like the examiner or your teacher that you can what's the term? You can digest
To
this
the
word
end.
problem. You can digest this word problem and find the path of least resistance to get the answer, right?
Okay.
And that is a form of like problem solving. And I feel like it just shows more about a student's ability than a graphing question.
I don't get me wrong. I dislike graphs more than I dislike word problems. My general point was I feel like there's quantitatively less word problem practice than there is probably graphing. Because
Mm,
during graphing units, you do quite a lot, but word problems are scattered. Or I could be wrong. Who knows?
I think
But
you're wrong.
I do agree. Word problems are probably easier
Mm.
in most cases.
Cause especially when you get to the material that I'm going through, or I went through in the my last unit, where
Hmm.
graphing some of those functions are not fun. Cause
Graphing some of those
cause when
functions.
you graph a quadratic equation, right? Usually it's like a parabola shape, while with
Wait,
two.
usually? I thought they always were.
Hmm, that's where you're wrong.
Wow. Okay.
If you're graphing a quadratic or like graphing a quad yeah graphing a quadratic with that has a parabola shape and it crosses the x-axis twice, right?
Two roots.
Yeah, two roots. But when you get to my level, what if the parabola lies above the x-axis, right? Or what if
Well, they can have no x intercepts.
yeah,
Is
but
that what you mean? But I'm pretty sure they have to have y intercepts.
no, they don't. Well,
Oh, really?
they do at some point if they're infinitely continuous.
Hmm. Oh, yeah. Well,
Yeah,
that's true.
and but the thing is, once you start getting into graphing what polynomial equations,
I've
it's
heard about that.
not fun. And like if, for example, right? One thing you need to consider when you're graphing a polynomial equation is that the degree of the polynomial, right? So like let's say there's a polynomial with x cubed, right?
Hmm.
The thing I dislike about graphing polynomial functions is that, well, that's the number of x solutions there are, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you'd think that sound good, right? Where you can look at the formula and see how many answers there are. But then you realize that that also includes complex solutions with imaginary numbers,
Huh.
which we don't cover this year. So we're kind of like learning it out of order, I guess. But yeah,
I find imagining numbers really interesting, actually.
yeah.
I don't know if I'll ever, like, depending on what you choose in university, do you not learn it or do you always learn it? If even if you choose something that wouldn't have anything to do with math.
Well, I mean, I feel like
Because I do find it interesting,
if you go to uni, it depends on what you're studying, but usually you do have to take a math course.
right?
Hmm.
Yeah. Imagining numbers are interesting, but what I find interesting more is the fact that there's so much in the math world, and then there's always somebody who n- didn't necessarily discover that because I kind of feel like math, you can't really. Well, no, they discovered it. They didn't invent it, is what I meant to say.
Hmm.
Because you can't really invent math. You know what I mean? I
Yeah.
feel like it's always been there, but you can definitely discover it. And then somebody has to learn these things at the highest level. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
There always has to be that group of people that are experts at doing these different things in math, or maybe all of them. And I always just wonder, like, it is true that like probably most of the stuff you learn you won't use, but it's interesting to think about that it has to be taught because like a group of people have to be able to perform it at the highest level to
Hmm.
preserve it. Like imagine losing that, you know?
Hmm.
I wonder how much that would set people back. Because for big companies, you rely a lot on the highest performance of a subject.
Hmm. I mean, not necessarily, but you can make an
What do you
argument.
mean?
Like,
Speak your mind.
I feel like if you're working at a company, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like of course there will always be people who are like you need to have skill in the area, right?
Mm-hmm.
But when you say like, oh, the best, like that's argue,
No, I
you know.
didn't mean like if you're working an office job at a big famous international company, you need to know that stuff. That's not what I meant. If you're developing new technology into the future, certain jobs need you to know or be an expert in certain fields, you know?
Hmm.
You don't necessarily have to be the best, but you have to um
You know what you're doing.
yeah, you have to know everything in math, for example. For certain jobs, like imagining developing new technology. Although that's more scientific, but my point is, I just find that interesting, you know?
Hmm.
But then again, you don't have, I mean, there's probably not that many people who do that.
Hmm.
Have you ever thought about like, I mean, when you think about all those office jobs that are out there that get paid like super well, it
Hmm.
makes you wonder, dude, there's some jobs out there that make me question existence because
Yeah.
their salaries are so gigantic.
Yeah. Like I don't know. I feel like there's so many jobs out there, but yet there's so many like competitors for those high paying jobs. So you kind of have to.
Almost for everything, it
Yeah.
feels like. You know, when you think about it, nothing's really free. A lot going off of what you said, nothing's really free. Like you think about the job world, everything is competitive,
Mm.
and then you think about it in real life, nothing is truly free, I don't think. Even products that are like given out for free, like the company usually expects something back for it, as in interest. So they're getting paid in interest, right?
Mm.
Usually. Maybe I'm looking too much into that. I don't know.
I think you are. Have you been? Cause you told me you took guitar, right?
Yeah,
And like, have you been playing it?
dude, I I really should play guitar more. I don't know. I feel like I mess. I don't know. I should practice more definitely. Like I like the instrument, but I haven't played in so long.
Mm.
No, I definitely should practice more. Dude, guitar is probably, I don't want to say it's an easy instrument, but it feels like something pretty easy to pick up, if that makes sense.
Mm. I feel like.
Like it seems like the most available instrument. Pianos are big and expensive, drums are big and expensive. Like out of the well-known instruments of the world, guitar is probably the most affordable in price and availability,
Mm.
right? Maybe.
I
I
feel
don't know.
like,
What do you
well,
think?
I feel like guitar has like a low, like it's easy to pick up, but it has a really high skill cap,
Yeah,
like a
yeah,
skill
yeah.
ceiling. Like it's easy, but if you get really really good at it, then it's really good, right?
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah. It's easy to pick up, but it's hard to get good at it, or the cap is really high, right?
Mm.
Yeah. You play piano. I mean, you play piano, sorry. Do you still play now?
No, not well.
Wow, what
No, yeah.
happened?
I mean, it's more like no time, I want to say, but I know that's a lie. It's more like I'm more interested in other instruments, right? So,
Mm.
for example, like saxophone, right? Or
Oh, you genuinely like
yeah, I
saxophone?
genuinely like saxophone, and as well as like bass guitar. Like those two instruments are ones that I play and I enjoy
Bass
playing.
I enjoy too, actually. I wouldn't mind learning bass eventually, but only after I'd get good at guitar. I feel
Really.
like a lot of it's procrastination. It's really easy to come up with an excuse, right?
Mm.
Yeah, it's really easy to come up with an excuse, and it's really hard to actually take action. I don't know.
It is what it is, you know.
It is what it is. Yeah, I guess so. I don't know. When I think of like this day and age where it's so easy to procrastinate and I'm like sitting at a desk usually doing work, it makes me think of like it sounds weird, but it makes me think of genuinely like hundreds of years ago. Like not that life was simpler back then. I don't think that's true. But my point more is like right now and a few hundred years ago we're so different
Mm.
as like a species almost.
Really.
It like when I compare what I'm doing now, like I don't really have to worry about survival like in the wilderness. But if you go back a few hundred years, like maybe, well, not a
Mm.
few hundred years, there's civilization, but I'm talking about like prehistoric times.
Really.
Yeah, it's just interesting to see how far we've come, you know.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
And now I really only have to worry about doing work and all this, and procrastination is probably my biggest enemy. Like prehistoric times, I wonder if procrastination was even a thing.
I
I wonder
mean,
if people were more close to nature, where they were more, we're still animals, but I think you understand my point where like I wonder if we were even more into instinct instead of reason,
mm.
right? I That's what I wonder about. Like, oh, did they have the same like thought process as we did? Do you know what I mean?
Mm.
What do you think about that?
Well, I feel like the thought process of people, right? They're influenced by their experience and the environment they're in, right?
Mm-hmm.
So of
That's
course
true.
that has a play on that or whatever
Mm.
you said.
Yeah. It's also interesting when you think about the fact that the chances of humans even existing is so 1 to a quintillion or something like that.
Mm.
It's ridiculous. Like first there has to be life on Earth, and then like I've watched so many documentaries, and we've gotten lucky so many times throughout our evolution to get us to this stage. It's
Mm.
ridiculous. It also makes me think of how rare it is that planets probably have sentient life on them. Like the whole idea of aliens, you know?
Yeah, I mean the possibility is pretty high.
But dude, and then but I mean, they discover planets now with where they assume there to be life, even if it's not sentient or intelligent, right?
Mm.
That would be so cool. Imagine like in 1,000 years you go to another planet like that, and even if the life there isn't smart, but it's alive. And imagine how different because the client like the properties of that planet would be different.
Mm.
Imagine how different like animals there would be, right?
Yeah,
I that must be so cool.
it is what it is.
What,
I mean, yeah, I don't know.
well, this is a good question. On that thought, Would you rather explore the bottom of the ocean without any danger
Hmm.
as much as you want, or explore space without any danger as much as you want anywhere?
Good question.
Right?
It is a very good question.
Because the bottom of the ocean technically is less explored than than no, was it space or was it like our solar system? I
I
can't
think it's our
remember.
solar system. There's no way it's
Right, it
space.
can't be space, yeah. But which one would you rather, explore our solar system or the bottom of the ocean here?
Probably solar system. I feel like it's
Really?
like even if we don't like eventually we'll reach the bottom of the ocean, right? But there's
Hmm.
no like guarantee that we'll get to that far into space.
When you say we're gonna reach the bottom of the ocean, do you mean like live down there?
No, 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 just
What
like
do you mean?
explore it, you know?
I wonder what are the benefits to exploring the bottom of the ocean other than just discovering new things?
Mm,
I wonder if you discover not new natural resources, but new ways to harvest them, maybe.
maybe.
Or maybe like if you explored the solar system, you'd find not new minerals, but maybe different ways to harvest them. Or
Mm,
maybe new minerals too.
yeah,
Like stuff we know that exists but is hard to obtain
yeah,
or isn't feasible on Earth, right?
yeah,
I'm not huge into space as much as other people I know, but like it's interesting when I think about it, honestly.
yeah. Well,
So that's your answer then. Space?
space.
Okay, for me, hmm. You know what? I think I would go to other planets, honestly.
Imagine how cool that be too, right?
Yeah, even if you don't discover anything new, wouldn't it just be cool to like you don't need a spacesuit or anything? You just sit on like Jupiter and just watch the weather or
Yeah.
something? Because I'm pretty sure they have some crazy weather on those planets too.
Mhm.
Yeah, on Jupiter, I think it's something like they've had like I forget what the storms are called, but like I think dust storms that
Yeah,
have
yeah, yeah.
lasted for centuries. Can you imagine? Imagine like one day we set up colonies there and every day the weather is just the same. It's like BC on steroids.
There's literally be no way.
What do you mean there'd be no way?
I don't know, man. BC.
Oh. Also, have you been keeping up with the NBA lately?
I have not, unfortunately. I probably
Okay, do you
should,
want
but it is what it is.
do you want the deets?
Sure.
Okay, Ben Simmons is being Ben Simmons, right?
Yeah, like I know he's not playing, but like,
I wonder, like, there's no communication. I wonder what's going into that.
mm,
I genuinely wonder. Like, do you think he's being a big wuss?
that's argumentative. I mean,
I don't know how to feel about this.
well,
That's
it
why I'm asking
depends
you.
on what he's not playing for, right? Like, if he doesn't want to play with the team and he's refusing to, then I don't think it's right because, yeah, but like if he's doing it for like mental health, then like I can, you know,
Is that what he said?
he said something about not like taking leave from the team to work on his mental health or something.
Oh, actually, I didn't know that.
I'm pretty sure that's what it was, but I could be wrong.
Huh. That's weird. Well, not weird. I meant to say, like, I didn't expect that.
Yeah,
That's odd. Also, Damian Lillard is shooting terribly.
you see,
Or he's not playing that well, apparently.
I believe that he'll come back. It's Dame.
I wonder if it's the new rule changes. Or maybe it's not. I don't know, honestly.
He'll
And then
turn out.
Harden's doing pretty well, but I think people are clowning him because of the new rule changes.
Mhm.
And then what's it called? Kevin Durant's like the best player on planet Earth right now, I swear.
Of course he is.
Dude, KD is just that's like one of my favorite players to watch, man. It's just so good.
Dude, that shot last year, remember the
Oh
one that
my
counted as
gosh.
a two, but it was like really close to being a three.
Dude, shots plural, man, plural.
Yeah.
He had so many killer shots in that series, honestly. But I know what you mean though. That's ridiculous. Like he's I think PJ Tucker was on him, right?
Mm.
PJ Tucker's on this dude, hunting him across the entire court. He spins. Off balance shot, money.
Yeah, the fadeaway.
From 3 point range, essentially.
If he
And
had
then the
us,
refs got paid
yeah.
off. No, but like, I don't know. Really interesting.
Hmm.
Also, such a good player, man. Honestly. Harden was injured in that series. Wasn't Kyrie out too? I think he got
I think
injured.
he was.
And the Nets were so favored to win. Like people were just absolutely sure.
And then Bucks came in.
Yeah. Well, the Bucks and the Lakers, people were like they have chances of beating the Nets more than anybody else.
Hmm.
But I had my money on the Bucks having the best chance against Brooklyn. But I still
Hmm.
thought Brooklyn would win, to be honest with you.
What was the other team that was in the finals last year? Was it the Nuggets or was it? I can't remember genuinely.
With the Bucks,
Yeah.
it was Phoenix.
Oh
It was
right,
Phoenix.
right.
Chris Paul got his ring snatched from him. They had like a 2-0 lead, and then they got swept.
Oh, I remember.
Dude, the crazy part for me is the fact that they got swept.
Hmm.
Isn't that ridiculous? 4 games in a row. That's crazy. The way I thought it was gonna go is that the Bucks win like 3 in a row. And then the next 2 games are extremely hard. The Suns win just before the seventh game, and then
Hmm.
this during the seventh game the Bucks will win, but barely. That was my
Hmm.
prediction, but it wasn't even close.
Yeah, you were wrong.
Yeah. Chris Paul looked so sad by the end of that series too. Or actually not sad, just mad,
He
to be
still has
honest.
time, probably.
How old is he now? Close to 40, isn't he?
30 something? 36?
Has he been
34?
in the league longer than LeBron?
No.
Okay, okay. So yeah, he probably has more time than LeBron even has.
Yeah.
Devin Booker's like 27 now or something.
It's crazy. I remember him when he was like when he was really young and he was like the next next Kobe or whatever.
Even back then.
I mean, yeah, and like he was what, 20, 22, 23 at the time and now he's pretty old.
22, 23, huh? Dude, but you know who there's two people nobody talks about enough. First of all, Steph, doing really well right now. He's pretty crazy. Like he's having one of those seasons where it's not just points, he's doing well in all other categories, which he usually doesn't.
Mhm.
And then KD, man, 28, like 5 and something else. But I'm pretty sure like his rebounds are pretty high too.
Mhm.
And the fact that he came back from an Achilles injury too and he's doing that well is ridiculous to me.
Mhm. Yeah. Usually Achilles injuries are pretty bad.
Right? But he came back. He doesn't even look like he's been affected by it, and he's better, honestly, than he was like in Golden State, in my opinion.
Mm.
And you know what people sleep on? KD defense, bro.
Mhm.
Ridiculous. Ridiculous. Remembrance Day is coming up too.
It is.
Yeah, November 11th.
Mhm. Too bad. I'll probably be studying quite a bit.
More tests or what?
Yeah. Next week is pretty intensive week.
Mentally prepared for it, huh?
Yes, sir.
You know what I really, really miss?
What?
Going to the movies, man.
Mhm.
Just you can probably you can watch so many movies that come out that and you don't even need to go to the theater usually.
Mhm.
And even movie theaters have options where you can buy it and then watch it at home.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. But the experience of going to the movies is just so cool, especially at night. It feels so nice.
Yeah. Like you go in when the sun's out and you come out when it's
Yes.
dark.
Yes. Man. What was the last movie you saw in theaters?
I think it was Endgame, honestly.
Really?
Yeah.
What was that, 2018?
It was 2018.
Hmm. COVID hit in like January 2019, right?
Yeah.
So it's pretty much been 2 years, almost three.
Mhm. Yeah, I remember that
Wow.
morning when I went onto social media and saw that post.
Of what?
of Kobe passing away.
Oh
Like the
yeah.
news of it.
Yeah. Wait, did Kobe pass in the same year that COVID started?
Yeah, at the beginning of that year.
Oh wow, I thought that was 2018. That's a lot closer than I remember it being. Wow.
Yeah.
Back then I wasn't a huge basketball fan, but even I knew he was pretty big in basketball.
Mhm.
Also, it seems so movie-esque, like a helicopter. It was hard to believe.
Yeah.
I was like, how could this happen in a this guy had a helicopter? Like, I was just so confused. But I think he had it because he took it to like his gym, right? Or
No,
it
it
was like his
was.
academy.
Yeah, he was taking it with a couple others to. He was taking his daughter to some place for a game or like some academy thing.
Wow, that's tough.
Mm.
That's I feel bad for his family. Like it's hard to accept that too, you know?
Yeah, it's hard. Definitely hard.
What was your reaction? Like a lot of people broke down, but were you pretty calm?
I mean, I was like, there's no way. Like it was because
Shocked?
I saw it on like an unofficial page, right?
Hmm.
And then I'm like, ain't no way, it's real, right? And then it was real, and I'm like, damn, like what's happening this year?
It
Cause
came out of nowhere and
yeah,
that's crazy, man. COVID, like it feels like things are going back to normal more now. I feel like you hear it in less severity on the news. Not that it's not on the news,
yeah.
but when is it gonna be pretty much non-existent? I don't think it'll go away necessarily, but when is it gonna die down greatly so things can like finally end?
I think the normality is probably gonna come back like in Canada, maybe beginning of like summer next year. I hope
2023? I mean, sorry,
2022.
2022?
Yeah,
Huh. I hope so. I mean, things are kind of going back to normal now, you know,
yeah,
but I feel like I see less people with masks because it's not mandated anymore, right?
yeah.
I still wear mine, but you know, I think I mentioned this in one of the past episodes too, but ever since wearing a mask, I've been getting sick a lot less too. It's
Yeah,
crazy how well it works.
I agree.
Also, also the fact that everybody's sanitizing and stuff, it's ridiculous. But that's not even like the most influential part. You know what's most memorable for me, ironically?
What is it?
Back when COVID first started and we were still going to school before schools locked down.
Mhm. You guys had the first case?
No, no, no. You know what I remember? I remember people cracking jokes and not taking it seriously at all.
Mm.
Some people weren't wearing masks. I remember my mom made me take like sanitizer to school, but masks weren't mandated yet.
Mhm.
And I remember people were cracking jokes. They were like, "Hey, can I have some sanitizer?" Like people were cracking jokes and stuff.
Mm.
Other people were like, "Oh, let's pretend to cough around a group of people and see what the reaction is like."
Yeah, I remember that as well. I remember like my
It's
parents
crazy.
being like, they were like, "Oh, bring this to school, bring that to school. Make sure you sanitize before you eat and stuff like that."
Mm-hmm.
And like they wouldn't let me go to the mall or anything, even
Okay.
before there was any COVID here reported.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember also that it was called the Wuhan virus originally.
Mhm.
And then it turned into coronavirus and then
Mm.
COVID-19 and then COVID. Some people just refer to it as like C-19 now too.
Really?
Yeah, yeah. But it's interesting to me how that name evolves over time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Pandemics like this, which affect a worldwide population, for our generation, I feel like this is the first time we've seen something affect the globe. Like for kids living during World War II, it was obviously the war. For us, it's like this pandemic, probably.
Oh, I have to agree.
It's the
Ugh.
first time we've seen society not change, react.
Mm.
I mean, just saying the word coronavirus is almost taboo now. Makes
Mm.
people uncomfortable.
Like you'd think after like the Spanish flu and like the past pandemics that we would learn from it, right?
Spend more money on
Spend
healthcare.
more money on healthcare and then like take more like precautions to prevent
Yeah.
another pandemic, but like it's not the case.
It's almost like it's human instinct to go to natural feelings of like, well, governments spend money on like power and expansion and I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe it's just like the natural instinct because that's what survival is in a way.
Mm.
Getting power, influence. I don't know. I mean, not to say that people don't learn at all. I feel like we've learned pretty well from past pandemics, or I mean, we're trying.
Mhm.
The UN and WHO exist at least. They weren't even like a thought years and years ago.
Yeah.
But the most interesting part for me in COVID would have to be the fact how you see society change through a big event like this.
Mm.
How you go from normality to what it is now. Not that people are like crazy or like there's chaos in the streets. My
Mhm.
point is like society has gone through the gutter
Mhm.
and it's pretty much the same but with cracks.
Yeah.
Not necessarily bad ones either. Maybe you can learn from it. But it's so interesting to me how if you said like back then it was like Wuhan virus and now it's evolved into like coronavirus, this world that's like taboo.
Mm.
It's like other worldwide events that happened years ago.
It is.
It's like the same thing. It's really interesting for me, honestly. And the best part is that in 100 years, when I'm like 117, I get to brag about this. Yeah, I lived through COVID. I saw it all.
You live through it. And the thing is, in like 10
Yeah.
years, it'll be in history books. And
You think
our children
so?
will be learning about it, yeah.
Do you really think they'll put it in like genuine history
I
books?
mean, in our
The
history
Spanish
books,
flu is.
yeah, the Spanish flu is, and the SARS virus is. And that was really recent, like in our parents' lifetime.
And well, we don't study it, but we like know about it.
Yeah.
But the thing is with the Spanish flu, I think it was bigger than SARS. Yeah,
Mm.
Spanish flu was more worldwide. But even the Spanish flu probably took a decade or more to really go into like worldwide history.
Mm.
Maybe it'll be the same with COVID.
Hopefully.
Some people say too that like COVID hasn't had a big of an effect as other pandemics in history.
Mm.
And I'm like, yeah, because we have modern medicine and we're like dealing with it the best we can,
True.
which isn't even like truly the best we can, honestly.
Mhm.
Honestly, who knows? Maybe it would have been like Spanish flu levels of bad if we didn't have modern medicine. That's
I
something to think
can.
about.
Yeah, I can see it being that bad.
Hmm. But you know what? We should end this off with a good note, which is our outro.
Hmm.
Oh, you like that segue? Okay, that
Sure.
wasn't really good. Okay, but thank you for joining us, guys. This was a really, really fun episode to make, and we're glad to be back.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, peace out.
See you
Goodbye.
guys next week.